are today, Be'ezrat Hashem, doing Daf Nun Zayin Amud Bet, and probably also Nun Chet Amud Aleph, because Nun Zayin over here is very short. We're holding on the very, very bottom of Daf Nun Zayin, where it says Itmar. So, just to reiterate, it's important to remember the machloket that we had in the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, we had a machloket if a kohen does kiddushin to a grusha, somebody who he's not allowed to have bia with, somebody who he's not allowed to marry. He's mekadesh her anyways. And generally, if it gets to a point where a kohen, generally a kohen would be able to feed her truma at a certain point. She would be able to eat truma at a certain point. The question is, in this case where she's mishtamer lebia psula, it's a kiddushin that's, it's against halacha. Even though the kiddushin works, but it's a kiddushin that's against halacha because the bia is not allowed to happen. So the question is, does she eat truma? Rabbi Meir said, no, she doesn't eat truma, and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon said she does eat truma. So now we're going to get into a similar machloka, which the Gemara is going to try to say is the same thing. So, very bottom of Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph. Itmar. Rav Amar, yesh chupa lepsulot. Ushmuel Amar, ein chupa lepsulot. Rav says, yesh chupa lepsulot. What does that mean? So, it means if somebody does chuppah, a kohen does chuppah with someone who's a psula, even without kiddushin. He just goes ahead and does chuppah. Does that make her psula to have truma? Let's say she was a bat kohen, right? The way Rashi explains the case, let's say she was a bat kohen, a bat kohen grusha. So this lady, she comes from a family of kahuna. She's allowed to eat truma at home. She's divorced. Right, when she gets divorced, Shaval Beit Avia, she goes back to her father's house. She could eat truma because her father's family is a kohen. Now, this other kohen comes, and he has a chuppah with her. Even though she's divorced and they're not supposed to get married, he had a chuppah with her without having bia. Right, if he has bia with her, that everyone agrees she becomes a halala, she can't have truma anymore. But he just had a chuppah with her before any bia. Does that make her pasul to have truma or no? Okay, so case is clear. Case is she was a bat kohen who's allowed to have truma, but she's a grusha, she's a divorcee, and another kohen came and was mekadesh, not mekadesh, he had chuppah with her. Does that passel her from truma the same way that bia would, or no? So Rav says yesh chuppah lepsulot. Rav says yes, chuppah does mean something, and it does make her pisula to have truma. Ushmuel amar en chuppah lepsulot. Shmuel says no, it doesn't do anything. Amar Shmuel, umod Eliaba, betinoket pechuta mibat shalosh shanim veyom echad. Shmuel says, Boker Tov, Shmuel says that Abba is Rav. Rav agrees to me that if a kohen had chuppah with a grusha who's under 3 years old, in that case, the chuppah doesn't make her pisula to have truma. Right? So Shmuel says Rav agrees to me in that case when she's under 3 that the chuppah doesn't do anything. So the question is, just to reiterate, if a kohen has bia with a bat kohen who's a grusha, once he has bia with her, he makes her a halala because she was a grusha. She's not allowed to be with a kohen. She becomes a halala. She can't have truma anymore. What if there's just chuppah and no bia? So Rav says that also makes her pasul to have truma, and Shmuel says no, it doesn't. And Shmuel said if she's under 3 years old, Rav agrees with me that the chuppah doesn't do anything. Ho'il ve'en la bia, en la chuppah. We're on Nun Zayin Amud Bet, 4 lines in. So since by under 3 years old, there's no bia, that's not considered a halachic bia, so the chuppah also won't make her pasul. Amar Rava, Afanan Nami Tanina. Rava says, listen, we have a braita also that says the same thing. Now the Gemara is going to bring a braita that this won't apply by someone who's under 3 years old. Bat shalosh shanim v'yom echad mitkadeshet bebia. Once someone is 3 years plus, they're mikadeshet bebia. The bia is actually a kinyan on them. Ve'im ba'alea yavam kana'a. And if a yavam is with her, he's koneh her. right? This is as long as she's older than 3 years old. And if somebody is with her when she's married, let's say her father accepted kiddushin for her, so she's an eshet ish, and somebody is with her when she's over 3 years old, he was with an eshet ish. And if somehow she's has tumat nida, she's a nida, she's mitameh the same way that a nida would be. Niset la kohen, if she gets married to a kohen, this 3+-year-old, ochelet b'truma, she can eat truma. Ba'aleha echad mikol hapesulin, if she has a relationship with someone who is pasul, so pasla, that makes her pasul to marry a kohen. So what do you see from this braita? Bat shalosh shanim veyom echad hu demifsela bebia. Once she's 3+ and she has bia with someone who's pasul to her, that makes her pasul. Meaning, for example, if she was a gerusha and she has bia with a kohen, she becomes pasul to eat truma. That's only if the bia happened when she's 3+ years old. So that's what the Gemara is.
3+.
If she's under 3, meaning 3 and 1 day or older. But if she's under 3, if she's 3 years or under, then bia doesn't mean anything. And the Gemara is going to say the same way that bia by someone who's under 3 years old doesn't accomplish anything, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. A person who is together with somebody who's 2.5 years old, somehow they're not. That bia doesn't mean anything. He's not chayav esherish. She's not that bia doesn't count as a bia.
Even with the girl less than 3 years old, bia doesn't mean anything.
That's not right. So the same way the Gemara is going to say same way.
For the man and for the girl.
Yeah, meaning all these applications.
There's no isur on it.
There's no if she's esherish, you're not chayav esherish. If she's it's not, that bia is not considered a bia. So the Gemara is going to explain the same way that that's not considered a bia, and it won't passel her for truma if she's under that age. So to chuppah of someone under that age won't passel her for truma, right? So bat shalosh shanim v'yom echad hu demifsela bebia, mifsela bechuppah. Only if she's 3+, if she has bia with somebody who she's not allowed to be with, that'll make her pasul for having truma. So she's gonna the chuppah also will make her pasul. Ha pechuta mi bat shalosh shanim v'yom echad. But if she's under that age, the lo mifsela bebia, lo mifsela nami bechuppah. The chuppah is not going to make her pasul as well. So that's by under 3 years old, everyone agrees. By over 3 years old, there's a machloket, Rav and Shmuel, if somebody has bia, if somebody has chuppah with a bat kohen who's a gerusha, does that, if a kohen has chuppah with her, does that make it that she is pisula to have truma now or no? Rav said yes, that ruins her ability to have truma. Shmuel said no. Okay, Shema Mina. You see from that braita that Rav would agree with Shmuel by under 3 years old. So Amar Rami Bar Chama, Yesh chuppah lipsulot banu lemachloket Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon. Rami Bar Chama wants to say this machloket Rav and Shmuel of Yesh chuppah lipsulot. Again, the machloket is is chuppah like bia? Does chuppah make it that she can no longer have truma? If she's a bat kohen, grusha, and she has chuppah with a kohen, with no bia, nothing else, just a kohen takes her under chuppah. Does that make it that she's pasul to have truma or not? So Rav says yes, she can no longer have truma. Shmuel says no, she can still have truma. So Rami Bar Chama wants to say this machloket is really based off of the earlier machloket that we had in the previous Mishnah, Rabbi Meir against Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Meir Damar Kiddushin Pasli, right, top of Nun Chet Amud Aleph. According to Rabbi Meir, who holds that Kiddushin is posel, meaning Rabbi Meir said, if a Kohen is Mekadesh, included in what Rabbi Meir said is if a Kohen is Mekadesh a Gerusha, she cannot have Truma. So chuppah nami pasla. He holds chuppah also will be posel even without bia. And Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Damar Kiddushin lo pasli. Chuppah nami po lo pasla. According to Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, they hold that Kiddushin without any bia doesn't make her. She could still eat truma. So also chuppah will not make her pasul to eat truma until there's bia.
If somebody get married, if you go to the chuppah and doesn't have a bia with that girl, yeah?
Yeah.
If somebody go with that woman, is a shashish?
She's Eshadish from Kiddushin already. Even without, yes.
Without the bia, she's
Yeah, the question is, if there is chuppah without Kiddushin, does that make her Eshadish? That's a question in the beginning of Gemara Kiddushin. Okay. The chuppah nisuin oseh or erisin oseh olav. I think
until you don't have the bia, so. Is that complete?
Right, but she's still considered an Eshadish. From the time of Kiddushin, she's 100% Eshadish. Okay, so the Gemara wanted to suggest that this machloket Rav and Shmuel is the same machloket Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. That according to Rabbi Meir would hold like Rav, and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon would hold like Shmuel. Right? Rabbi Meir would say the chuppah would make it pasul for her to eat truma, and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon would say no. So the Gemara says, "Umimai, how do you know that that's the case? Maybe it's not true. Maybe Rabbi Meir could hold like Rav and Shmuel, or maybe Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon would also hold like either one." Right? Dilma ad kan lo kama Rabbi Meir hatam ella bekidushin dekanila. Maybe Rabbi Meir he only says by kiddushin where there's a kinyan happening that he's koneh her, so over there he makes her pasul to eat truma if she's a bat kohen. Aval chuppah de lo kanala lo, but chuppah is not a kinyan. There's no kinyan until bia happens. Therefore, Rabbi Meir would agree by chuppah that that's not going to make her pasul if there's just chuppah. Meaning only by kiddushin where there's a kinyan, so he makes her pasul. But when there's no kiddushin, there's just chuppah, there's no kinyan, that doesn't make her pasul. Inami, or I could tell you that Adkan lo ka'amri Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon hatam ela bekiddushin de lo krivi lebiyah aval chuppah de kriva lebiyah hachinami de pasla. I could also tell you the other way around, flip side, right? That Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon that they say by kiddushin that she's still allowed to eat truma. That's because kiddushin is very far removed from bia. But chuppah is the whole idea of chuppah is you're bringing her into the household, quote unquote, for bia. Chuppah, that's what chuppah is. Chuppah is kirva lebia. It's getting everything ready for bia. So since that's the case, maybe they'll agree that chuppah has more of a status like bia, and just like everyone would agree, bia of a grusha to a kohen would make her pisula. It makes her halala, she can't have truma. So too, they would agree that chuppah could also make her psula. But by kiddushin, they would say, no, that doesn't make her psula because that has nothing to do with bia. That's very far removed from bia. So therefore, we're saying it's not the same machloket Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. So the Gemara says, Ella i'ika lememar beplukta dehani tenai. If you want to say that there's that this machloket is a earlier machloket Tanaim, you want to say the machloket Rav and Shmuel about whether chuppah makes grusha bat kohen pisula to have truma, chuppah will be posel a lady or not. So it will really be a different machloket. If we want to find a machloket Tanaim that matches this machloket, is this one, the Tanya. Nisu zuv zuk sherotu psulot. So you have a kohen who married this lady and that lady, meaning he married ksherot and pisulot. So you have a kohen who married a number of ladies. Yeah, he married a number of wives, right? He has ksherot and he has pisulot. Or shenichnesu lechuppah velo niv'alu. Or he had chuppah with them, but he didn't have bia yet. Now, the Gemara is going to explain in a moment that this is really all one case. The case is this, that he had chuppah and didn't have bia yet. If there's bia, everyone is going to agree that she cannot have truma anymore. Ocheli mishilova ochelet b'truma. Right? She eats from his, he's responsible to feed her, and she she's allowed to eat truma. So just the Gemara interjects here and says nichnesu michlal de nisu mamash. That from the second case it said that they had chuppah but they didn't have bia. It sounds like the first case is they had a full chuppah and bia and everything. That nisu, when it says nisu, it is nisu mamash. That doesn't make sense, because if they're fully married and they had bia, there's no question in the world that she becomes a halala and she's no longer able to have truma. So the case can't be that there was a bia. So the Gemara says, Ela lav kegon shenichnesu lechuppah v'lo niv'alu. The case must be that there was just chuppah, there was no bia. Right? So let's setting the case straight. Case is that there was chuppah, but there was no bia. And the Kohen had chuppah with ladies who are ksherot and ladies who are pisulot. And there was no bia yet. Vekatani, and what did it say in the Mishnah? In the Braita, Vekatani ochelet mishelo v'ochelet b'truma. It says that she can eat truma. She eats from his food. He's responsible to feed her, and she eats truma. So that's the first opinion. The first opinion says clearly that a kohen who has chuppah with ladies who are pisulot, they can still eat truma. That's the first opinion. That's very much like Shmuel, that chuppah doesn't make her pisula. Rabbi Yishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka omer, kol shebiata ma'achilata, chupata ma'achilata. V'chol she'en biata ma'achilata, en chupata ma'achilata. Rabbi Yishmael holds that if the bia would, meaning if she's keshera and the bia would be a kosher bia, she could eat truma. If she's pisula and the bia would not be a kosher bia, so the chuppah she can't eat truma either. Meaning that sounds very much like Rav, that yesh chuppah lipsulot. The chuppah has the same status as the bia. So if the bia is a good bia, the chuppah is a good chuppah and she could eat. If the bia is a bad bia and it'll passel her, the chuppah also will be a bad chuppah and it'll passel her. So it sounds like the first opinion is saying, like Shmuel, and Rabbi Yishmael is saying like Rav. That the first opinion is saying, no, even if he has chuppah, as long as there's no bia, that's not going to make her pisula from having truma. And Rabbi Yishmael says that no, any case, the chuppah is like the bia. The chuppah will make her pisula. That's what it sounds like. So the Gemara wants to suggest that the machloket Rav and Shmuel is really an earlier machloket Tanaim. This is the machloket Tanakama and Rabbi Yishmael in this Braita. So the Gemara again challenges this. The Gemara says, Mimai, how do you know that that's the case? Dilma, Rabbi Yishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka ki Rabbi Meir severely. Maybe Rabbi Yishmael is saying what he's saying because he holds like Rabbi Meir, that already from the time of Kiddushin, she's not allowed to eat, even without chuppah. Right? Damar Kiddushin, lo achla. Rabbi Meir holds that after Kiddushin already, that makes her pisula from eating truma. So maybe that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. It has nothing to do with the chuppah. Already from the time of Kiddushin, she cannot eat. So the Gemara says, Haikol she'en biyata ma'achilata en chupata ma'achilata. He said, how did Rabbi Yishmael express his opinion? He said, the chuppah is like the bia. Anytime the bia would make her pisula, the chuppah also makes her pisula. So he should have said, Kol she'en biyata ma'achilata en kaspa ma'achilata. He should have said, anytime that the bia is going to make her pisula, the kiddushin also will make her pisula. He didn't say that. He said anytime the bia makes her pisula, the chuppah will make her pisula. He should have said, if he holds like Rabbi Meir, he should have said, anytime the bia makes her pisula, the kiddushin would make her pisula. So the mibayle, that's what he should have said. So the Gemara says, Dilma aidi damar tanakam chuppah, amar iunami chuppah. The Gemara says, no, maybe he's just going with the flow. The Tanakama was talking in terms of chuppah, so he's just continuing along, and he's not reformatting it to talk about Kiddushin. But he really holds already from the time of Kiddushin, she's Pisula. So it could be that the machloket Rav and Shmuel is this machloket here. Okay, that's part one. Now let's go further. Amar Rav Amram. Hamilta Amar lan Rav Sheshet v'anhirinu lehenan mimatnitin. Rav Amram says that the following thing Rav Sheshet taught us. Rav Sheshet taught us the following teaching. V'anhirinu lehenan. He enlightened our eyes, meaning he brought a proof from it from a Mishnah. So what's the teaching? Yesh chuppah lipsulot. that chuppah will make someone pisula to have truma. If she was previously allowed to have truma and she has chuppah to a kohen or to someone who's pasul, that'll make her not allowed to have truma, right? If she was, let's say, a grusha or she had chuppah with someone who's pasul. Okay. Now, what's his Vatanatuna? And he brings a proof from a Mishnah. Okay, so this Mishnah is talking about.
The ger is not bad coin. It's bad destroyed. No?
So we're talking about the way Rashi expressed the application of the case. It would be even a bat kohen who's now currently able to have truma. She's a grusha bat kohen. She's allowed to have truma, and she has chuppah with a kohen who she's not allowed to have bia with. So that's machloket Rav and Shmuel. If she just has chuppah and no bia yet, Rav says no, chuppah is already like bia. That's it, finished. And Shmuel says no, chuppah ain't chuppah lepsulot. Until they have bia, there's no.
So they talk about bat kohen.
Yes, but it could be anybody who.
If bat Israel.
Yeah, the question is, will it make her pisula or not? Will it be like bia or not? Let's see the proof over here. So we bring a proof. For the proof, we have to go to cases of sota. So the pasuk says that they make the sota swear and they say amen, amen. So amen shelo satiti arusa unsua shomeret yavam uknusa. So she says amen. She makes a shvua basically, and she says yes, I wasn't with anybody when I was an arusa, which means when I was just accepted kiddushin. When I was nisua, after I got married, I wasn't with anybody else. Shomeret yavam, I wasn't with anybody else when I was waiting to do yibum to this man. Uknusa, or after I've done yibum to him, I was not with anybody else. She says amen to say that all of those cases I'm clean. Whether I was just had kiddushin, I had nisuin, I was shomeret yavam, meaning I was waiting to do yibum, or actually after I did the yibum, I'm clean, and I wasn't with anybody else. So one of the cases is arusa, somebody who just had kiddushin. So hay arusa hey chidami. What's the case of a sota who just had kiddushin? So ilem de kanila keshehi arusa v'kamash kelakshi arusa. If you want to tell me the case is that he gives a kinui, he warns her when he just gave her kiddushin. He's mekadesh a lady. He warns her, and then he feeds her the water also when she's in arusa. So arusa bat mishtiyahi, and arusa can't drink sota water. Why? V'hatanan arusa v'shomeret yavam lo shotot v'lo notlot ketubah. We have a Mishnah that teaches that in arusa and a shomeret yavam, until they're fully married, they cannot drink. The husband cannot force them to drink sota water. Why?
They do not do anything wrong.
Because the pasuk says tachat ishech. So we learned that it's not enough for her to have kiddushin. She's still an eshet. Once there's kiddushin, she's an eshetish. The question is if she is with somebody else, is the husband allowed to make her drink then or no? So the pasuk says tachat ishech, which means only after nisuin is the husband allowed to make her drink. Only after the marriage has been complete. So it can't be, when we say in arusa, the case cannot be that he gave her kiddushin, he warned her not to go with somebody, she went with somebody, and then he makes her drink. Because he can't make her drink before they have a chuppah. He can't do that. So ella dekani lakshi arusa v'istatera v'kamashke lakshi nisua. So what do you want to tell me? The case is by an arusa that he gave her kiddushin, he warned her don't go with that man, she went with that man, he married her anyways, and then he makes her drink. So now he's making her drink after they're fully married, after chuppah and everything. So
the sota water is won't affect her.
Ah, beautiful. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Right? That's the Gemara.
I just read this in Kiddushin.
Okay, perfect. That's it. This sugya is this Gemara appears very similar to Gemara in Kiddushin. So the Gemara says mibad kila maya. What is the water going to affect her? V'hatanya v'nika ish me'avon. The pasuk says that the water affects the sota lady. Well, it says v'nika ish me'avon. The ish is clean from avon. What does that mean? Bisman sha'ish menuke me'avon hamayim bodkin et ishto. When the man is clean, he didn't do any bia of isur, he didn't do anything wrong, that's when the soto water will be effective. But if the man did a bia of isur also, so the water won't be bodek. They won't have an effect. So over here, what's the case that we're trying to say? He did kiddushin to her. She went and was with somebody else. He warned her. She was with somebody else. So he's not allowed to be with her anymore. What did he do? He said chuppah anyways, and he's with her anyways. So he did a bia of isur right now. He was just with a sota. He's not allowed to.
Who?
The guy, the husband. If
after she go, if you get that she cheat, and the husband again go with that lady.
Yeah, to have kiddushin, to have nisuin. I mean, cases like this, right?
She has a kiddushin.
She has kiddushin.
And she
He
goes with
warns her.
somebody else.
He warns her,
No.
don't go with that man.
Uh-huh.
She went with that man.
Okay.
What happens? Well, he's supposed to now separate from her.
From her, this guy.
What did he
The
do?
main husband.
He said, you know what? I can't feed her sota water now. Let me marry her and have chuppah and bia, and then I'm going to give her sota water.
I cannot do that.
You can't do
After
that because the bia is asur. So if once he does a bia of that's asur, he can't feed her the sota water anymore. It's not going to work. Okay, so Ella, rather the case must be the kanilak shi arusa v'istatira, that the case must be that he gave her a warning when after kiddushin. Kiddushin happens. He gives her a warning. Don't go with that man. She went with that man, but he didn't have bia with her. Meaning the husband didn't have bia with her. The husband just said, okay, let's have chuppah, but no bia. So what do you see from there? That chuppah makes it a kinyan to make it tachat ishech, and he could feed her the sota water after chuppah, even without bia. So what are we trying to prove from here? Shema mina yesh chuppah lepslot. That chuppah works in such a case to make a kinyan on her. So Amar Rava says not so fast. V'tizbera hadaha mitaratztahi. What? This is a good answer. This is a good explanation for the Mishnah. The case is that she had bia, she had kiddushin, and then she went and was with somebody else, and then came back to her husband, and he just had chuppah and no bia. That's the case. V'hakiata Rav Acha bar Chanina miduroma. When Rav Acha bar Chanina came from the south, ata v'aita matnita beyadeh. He came with this braita and an explanation. The pasuk says, "Mi baladei yishech mi shekadma shechivat baal leboel." That in order for sota to work, the husband had to have bia with her first, and then the boel. But if the boel had bia with her first before the husband, then the whole sota process doesn't happen. So in this case, what are we trying to say is the case? A man came to a woman, he gave her some money, he said, Harayat mikudeshet li, with this money. She's mikudeshet, she's an esherish. Okay? They're not getting married until later. He warns her. He says, don't go with Ploni. She goes with Ploni. Now he has chuppah with her, but he doesn't have bia yet, and he feeds her the sota water. That's the case. That's the case.
It doesn't make sense. After he told her, don't go with that man, he still go and chuppah with her?
He wanted her.
He wanted. But the question is, she's not. The bia is asura, so he just has chuppah with her, and he wants to bring the sota water to check her. If she's clean, then I'll continue with her. If not, then that's it. So this is the Gemara says you're trying to say this is the case, but Rav Acha bar Chinina, he taught that sota water doesn't work. The whole process of sota doesn't happen unless the husband had bia with her first. In this case, the husband didn't have bia with her yet. What happened? He gave her kiddushin. She went and was alone with somebody else. Then he had chuppah with her. There was no bia with the husband yet. Sota only works when the husband has bia with her first, and then she's with somebody else. But if the husband never had bia with her first, so you can't say the case is that they just had chuppah and not bia.
So that means if somebody have a kiddushin with somebody, and she goes and cheat, you don't give her sota. It's not going to work.
Exactly. According to what we're saying now, it's not going to work. Correct. We're going to see more about this on the next Amud, but So Amar Rami Bar Chama, Mishkachat la, kigon sheba alea arusa bebeit aviha. That the case is that the arusa was with her in her father's house. Meaning, he had bia with her, but not for the purpose of chuppah or kiddushin. Right? Generally, the way it works is someone gives a lady kiddushin, so if she accepts it, that's great. But she doesn't move in with him. She lives in her father's house. She stays with her father. She lives in her father's house. When it's time for chuppah, that's when she moves into her husband's house. So what happened in this case? She's living at her father's house. The guy gave her kiddushin. She's living at her father's house. And the guy has bia with her in her father's house for, it's a bia of znut, whatever. He couldn't hold himself, he had bia. Mm-hmm. It's not allowed. He's not supposed to do that. But he did it anyways. So he had a bia with her. And he warned her also, don't go with this guy. And she went with a different guy. And then afterwards he has chuppah with her. No bia yet. Mm-hmm. And he wants to feed her the sota water. So in that case, that's the case we're saying it'll work. Because
it doesn't work.
It will. Because she what's it called? He didn't. The husband had bia with her first. And
the husband had a bia.
He had a bia with her first. During the time, right, the bia not for purposes of chuppah. He had bia with her when she was living in her father's house before she moved in with him and had chuppah. So that bia, even though that's not allowed, a person's not supposed to be with his arusa bebeit chamiv, right? Gemara says kol aboela arusa bebeit chamiv. He's doing an isur, but he had bia with her first. So therefore, and he didn't have a bia with her after she became a sota, after she went in seclusion with the other guy. Therefore, the water will check her. Okay, I think even though I would like to go further because we're kind of in the middle of
nice subject
of an inyan, but we'll have to stop here, just because we don't have so much time. So B'ezrat Hashem on Monday we have to remember whatever. We'll do a little bit of a chazar and remind ourselves, where we're up to. But on Monday we will do B'ezrat Hashem Daf Nun Chet Amud Bet.
Kiddushin was a big segula for getting married.